Life has a way of changing directions in the quietest, most unexpected ways. One moment, everything seems planned, ordered, and predictable, and the next, the world shifts beneath your feet, forcing you to confront truths you never imagined facing. For Elena, it began on a day that was supposed to be ordinary, yet somehow extraordinary in the most chaotic sense. She had prepared meticulously, imagining an evening that would feel like the start of her fairy tale life. Her heart was full of hope, and she had believed that love, if nurtured carefully, would always reward patience and careful planning. She had imagined her future with William, the man who had promised her stability, comfort, and a life filled with everything she had been taught to desire: marriage, children, a golden retriever, and a beautiful home. Everything had been plotted in her mind with precise care, like a painting she had been working on for years, waiting for the right moment to step into its colors. And yet, life rarely gives warnings before tearing down the structures we have built. Elena's evening changed in a single, shocking moment. A sudden rush of motion, a stranger's hand snatching her purse, the chaos of city streets, her carefully planned world collapsed in an instant. She had never imagined that her life could be disrupted so violently, that the dreams she had nurtured could be robbed in the blink of an eye. She shouted, she struggled, she felt the surge of helpless anger rising inside her, but the man did not run as she expected. Instead, he turned to face her, and in his eyes, she saw something unexpected, a mixture of defiance and curiosity that unsettled her. In that unexpected encounter, Elena found herself being led to a small, hidden space, away from the bustling streets and flashing lights. Doors closed behind them, locking with a certainty that made her pulse quicken with fear and anger. She realized then that she was trapped with someone she had barely met, someone who had disrupted everything she thought she knew about her life. Her meticulously arranged world had crumbled in an instant, and yet, as she stared at the stranger, she could feel an inexplicable tension that held her attention. This was no ordinary thief. He was a man who carried a life of shadows and secrets, a life that had forced him into roles he had never chosen but had learned to navigate with a strange, dangerous grace. As the minutes stretched into hours, Elena began to see the truth in a way she had never allowed herself to. Her plans, her so-called fairy tale, had been built on illusions. The man she had intended to spend her life with had secrets, desires, and betrayals hidden behind polite smiles and promises. And the stranger, this unexpected force in her life, revealed to her the cracks in her carefully painted future. He was not the enemy she had first imagined. He was a mirror, reflecting the truths she had been too scared to see. Stepan, the man who had initially seemed reckless and unpredictable, gradually revealed layers of his life through the silent language of his presence. He was a thief, yes, but not merely for greed. His life had been shaped by circumstances that left him no choice but to navigate the world through cunning, risk, and survival. Yet beneath the rough exterior, Elena sensed vulnerability, a longing for freedom, and a capacity for care that few ever glimpsed. She found herself drawn to him not despite his flaws, but because of them. The same flaws that made him dangerous also made him authentic, and authenticity, she realized, was rarer than perfection. Their shared moments in the quiet confines of the hidden apartment were filled with unspoken realizations. Elena saw herself differently. She saw that her attachment to the structured, predictable life she had imagined was more about fear than desire. She realized that love could not be measured by golden retrievers, wedding plans, or the perfect apartment. Love was alive in the unexpected, in the chaos, and in the connection that defied logic. When Elena finally glimpsed the truth of William's life outside her carefully orchestrated plans, the final illusion shattered. He was with another woman, living the life she had imagined as hers. The sight was a pain unlike any she had known, yet it ignited something fierce inside her. It was a mix of anger, heartbreak, and freedom, a cocktail that left her feeling alive in a way her perfect plans never had. The realization that her fairy tale had been nothing but a fragile mask gave her courage to embrace the unknown. Stepan became her companion in this new reality. He guided her through the apartment, showing her a world she had once coveted yet never truly understood. They explored every corner, not as intruders or victims, but as two people discovering a new rhythm, a new way of being. Elena found laughter amidst her pain, strength amidst her uncertainty, and a sense of self she had never truly felt. She realized that life could be messy and unpredictable and still beautiful if shared with someone who understood both the darkness and the light within her. The tension of the past and the chaos of the present collided when William returned, attempting to assert control over the life he believed was his. But Elena had changed. The fear and compliance that had once defined her were gone, replaced by the clarity of self-knowledge and the fierce love that had blossomed unexpectedly with Stepan. She saw the hollowness of William's promises and the truth in Stepan's steady presence. Confrontation, judgment, and confusion filled the air, but Elena's choices were no longer dictated by obligation or expectation, they were dictated by truth. She chose freedom, honesty, and love that had been hard-won. As the evening turned into night, and the chaos of accusations and misunderstandings settled into a fragile calm, Elena and Stepan found themselves alone in the quiet aftermath. The city stretched around them, full of lights, shadows, and stories that moved faster than human comprehension. In that quiet, they recognized each other fully, not as perfect partners or idealized figures, but as real, flawed, resilient human beings capable of connection. Their love was not a story of effortless romance, it was a story of survival, discovery, and choice. They spent the following days navigating the complex realities of their lives. Each step was a negotiation between past mistakes and present possibilities. They laughed, they argued, they celebrated small victories and endured setbacks. Each moment reinforced a truth neither had known before: love is not about perfection, but about understanding, forgiveness, and the courage to be vulnerable. They discovered a shared rhythm, a language without words, a comfort in each other's presence that made the chaotic world outside feel more manageable. As time passed, Elena and Stepan transformed. She grew stronger, more confident, and more willing to embrace uncertainty. He grew more honest, more open, and more capable of imagining a future beyond survival and theft. Together, they built a bond that was unconventional, unpredictable, yet unshakable. Their love was a rebellion against the rigid expectations of the world and the illusions of perfection they had once chased. It was messy, it was real, and it was theirs. Through shared adventures, whispered confessions, and quiet nights spent planning futures that were never completely certain, they learned that happiness is not a destination but a process. Each day brought new challenges, new surprises, and new opportunities to choose each other. The golden retriever and the perfect apartment became symbols of a life they could choose to build together, not guarantees of happiness. Their journey was shaped by courage, trust, and the willingness to embrace imperfection.
In the end, Elena understood that true love does not always resemble a fairy tale. It does not come wrapped in perfection or neatly tied promises. True love comes from facing chaos together, from choosing to stay despite uncertainty, and from recognizing that happiness is created, not given. Stepan and Elena's story was not about the theft of a purse or the betrayal of a broken engagement. It was about the discovery of connection, the awakening of desire, and the courage to embrace a future they never expected. They found joy in the unpredictability, warmth in shared vulnerability, and strength in each other's presence. Their love grew not from effortless romance, but from the conscious choice to understand, forgive, and build a life together. It was a love forged in fire, tempered by trials, and made enduring by the simple truth that they had each other. Their story became a testament to the power of unexpected encounters, the beauty of imperfection, and the enduring magic of choosing love in a world that often seems determined to deny it. In a city full of noise, chaos, and uncertainty, Elena and Stepan carved a space that was theirs alone, a space where laughter, trust, and passion thrived. A space where past mistakes were not erased but transformed into lessons that deepened their bond. A space where love was not about the grand gestures or the perfect life, but about presence, understanding, and the courage to remain together even when the world tried to pull them apart. Their love was a rebellion against predictability, a challenge to societal expectations, and a celebration of the messy, unpredictable nature of life. It was a love that had begun with theft and betrayal, heartbreak and anger, yet it blossomed into something rare, precious, and enduring. Every day was an opportunity to choose each other, to reaffirm their commitment to honesty, passion, and shared dreams. As the sun rose and set over the city, they faced each day not with certainty, but with courage. They understood that the future would not always be easy, that challenges would come, and that the world would test their bond in ways they could not predict. Yet, they also understood that love's true power lies not in avoidance of pain, but in embracing it together, knowing that together they could endure anything. And so, in the midst of life's chaos, Elena and Stepan discovered what true love really is. A connection that transcends fear, defies expectations, and thrives in the space between imperfection and possibility. They had learned that happiness is not a gift to be received, but a life to be crafted, moment by moment, choice by choice, together. As the days passed after that unexpected encounter, Elena could not shake the feeling that her life had shifted irreversibly. Every routine, every familiar corner of her world, now felt different, altered by the memory of that chaotic evening and the man who had intruded into her carefully structured existence. The city streets, once predictable and comforting, now seemed alive, with possibilities she had never dared to imagine. And though fear had initially gripped her heart, a new curiosity took its place, one that whispered that perhaps life could be richer, fuller, and more vibrant than she had ever allowed herself to believe. Stepan's presence was a constant reminder of unpredictability, but it was also a reminder of vitality. He was a man shaped by hardship and risk, yet he moved through life with a daring energy that Elena could not resist. His world was one she had never known, filled with shadows, quick decisions, and blurred lines between right and wrong. But it was in those very contrasts that she found herself awake in ways she had never experienced before. She began to realize that the life she had imagined with William, the life of security and perfection, was safe but lifeless. The perfect apartment, the future plans, the promise of a golden retriever, and carefully measured happiness, all of it now seemed like a cage. And in its absence, freedom whispered possibilities she had never considered. Their interactions, once tense and guarded, gradually evolved into a rhythm that neither had anticipated. Stepan revealed glimpses of his world with caution, trusting Elena in small ways, allowing her to see the man beneath the facade of the thief and the intruder. And Elena, for her part, began to shed the layers of fear, expectation, and social conditioning that had always kept her confined. She laughed more freely, moved more boldly, and discovered a voice within herself that demanded to be heard. She discovered that anger could transform into courage, that heartbreak could lead to self-discovery, and that the chaos of the world could, paradoxically, become a place of beauty when viewed through the lens of connection. As they spent time together, Elena saw the complexity of Stepan's life, the compromises he had made, the choices forced upon him, and the hidden kindness that surfaced in rare but profound moments. She began to understand that people were not defined by a single action or a single failure. They were mosaics of decisions, experiences, and intentions. And within this realization, she began to feel something she had never expected, an attraction that was more than physical, more than fleeting. It was a resonance of spirit, a recognition of depth and truth in another human being. The city around them continued, indifferent to their awakening, but within the small sanctuaries, they found quiet apartments, hidden corners, stolen moments. Elena and Stepan's connection deepened. They were learning each other's rhythms, discovering what each needed without expectation or demand, and slowly constructing a fragile but real intimacy. Trust was tentative at first, built on small acts of consistency and honesty, but it grew stronger as each day passed. They began to rely on each other not because of convenience or circumstance, but because of the recognition that in a chaotic and uncertain world, they could create stability together. Conflict remained, as it always does when two independent and strong-willed people collide. Elena's past with William lingered in her mind. The hurt and betrayal gnawed at her, and the remnants of a life she had once thought secure occasionally tempted her to retreat. And Stepan, despite his growing attachment, struggled with his own shadows, the remnants of a life shaped by crime, distrust, and survival instincts that were hard to shake. Yet, through these challenges, a deeper understanding emerged. Love was not about eliminating obstacles or living in perfection. It was about facing imperfections, confronting fears, and choosing to remain despite uncertainty. One day, Elena found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought her here. The stolen purse, the chaotic apartment, the confrontation with betrayal, all of it had seemed disastrous at the time, yet now it appeared as a necessary catalyst. She realized that sometimes life's most painful disruptions lead to its most profound awakenings. In the shadow of loss, she had discovered resilience. In the face of fear, she had discovered courage. And in the chaos of an unexpected connection, she had discovered love, not the neat, sanitized version she had imagined, but a real, messy, and compelling love that demanded engagement, vulnerability, and courage. Stepan, for his part, had begun to change as well. Elena's presence, unwavering and perceptive, allowed him glimpses of a life that might be different. He could imagine choices that were not dictated by survival or desperation, possibilities that included honesty, compassion, and partnership. In Elena, he recognized someone who saw beyond the surface, who could recognize the good in him even when it was buried beneath layers of shadow and self-protection. Their relationship became a dance of discovery and acceptance, each learning how to navigate the other's world without diminishing themselves. The world outside remained unpredictable, yet within their shared moments, they began to construct a microcosm of stability and understanding. They learned to appreciate silence as much as laughter, to find comfort in shared routines even amid chaos, and to celebrate victories both large and small. The narrative of their lives shifted from one of disruption to one of co-creation, a story not imposed by circumstance or expectation, but chosen deliberately, day by day. Elena and Stepan's love was not without risk or uncertainty, but each challenge they faced reinforced their bond, teaching them that true intimacy requires not perfection, but authenticity. In the mirror of each other's presence, they saw both flaws and potential, pain and healing, chaos and beauty. And in recognizing and embracing these dualities, they discovered a love that was resilient, enduring, and profoundly real. As weeks turned into months, the initial intensity of their encounter matured into a deep, abiding partnership. Laughter, whispered confidences, shared dreams, and quiet understandings created a rich tapestry of connection that neither had anticipated but both had come to treasure. And amidst the trials, disappointments, and surprises of life, Elena and Stepan found a rhythm that was uniquely theirs, a harmony born from mutual recognition, respect, and the courage to love beyond fear. In the end, they understood that love was not a fairy tale to be read, or a story to be planned. It was a living, breathing force, unpredictable and wild, yet capable of profound stability when nurtured with awareness, care, and commitment. Through disruption, betrayal, and chaos, Elena and Stepan had discovered the essence of love, a choice, a commitment, and a shared journey into the unknown, made rich and enduring by their willingness to face it together.